Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, happy Monday, March 7th. Welcome to another episode of the Engine Room podcast, brought to you as ever by tokenmetrics.com. My name is Dylan Love. I'm joined today by my colleagues Jacob and Bill. Guys, what's up? Happy days.
Hi.
Hey, everyone.
So we're going to talk about three big things today. Russia, and because with everything that's going on in Ukraine, there's, of course, quite connected to financial markets. There's going to be many sub-points under Russia at large. Then we're going to talk about the return of credit default swaps. Of course, the thing that tanked markets in 2008 is back and worth talking about today. And then lastly, we're going to get into some Tether volatility. So this theoretically wonderful stable coin that's supposed to preserve value has been more volatile than it's been in a long time. And we're going to talk about why that matters. But guys, first, Russia, of course. I have this loosely held conviction that there is a tipping point about finance, like at the worldwide level, approaching. And we're seeing it demonstrated in the Russia-Ukraine conflict right now, because Russia's been kicked out of SWIFT, which is like being cut off at the knees for a country. Visa and MasterCard have pulled international services. So if the card's issued in Russia, it will still work within Russia, but it won't work anywhere outside. And then furthermore, those cards that are issued outside of the country, Visa and MasterCard, will not work inside of the country. So my MasterCard, which previously works no problem in Russia, even if I was there today, wouldn't work. So I'm talking about this because the case for crypto is being made clear, bigger and bigger every time we have a news item like this. My kind of moment was the GameStop short squeeze. The Russia stuff is going to catch an entirely new class of people and suck them into crypto topics, because it touches everything: politics, current events and news, all the way down to freedom, finance, and liberty, and things like this. It's going to wake up a lot of people. Where are we at with it when it comes to Russia and crypto? What have you guys been reading on this kind of large and mostly unpleasant topic? Unpleasant because it's about war, of course, but pleasant in the sense that this is kind of an orange pill moment, if you will, waking a bunch of people up to crypto.
Well, for me, the first thing I thought of is that if there's problems with payment systems, in other words, whatever pain we put the Russians through, they might retaliate in some way. So you have to have crypto on a thumb drive, cash in a drawer, possibly even a crypto bank debit card in case something goes wrong with the banking system. So I think there's this idea that, which may spread to institutions, that, I don't know, you just have to have crypto on hand because you can't pay at the grocery store with gold coins.
Jacob, what's the word on this anonymous hack as it relates to Russia-Ukraine?
Yeah, I mean, Anonymous has been all over the news. They're interrupting Russian TV broadcasts, showing pictures and videos of kind of the awful destruction of Ukraine. And I mean, I think that Anonymous is one of the first almost decentralized groups that we've seen that was kind of early 2010s that kind of coincided with the creation of cryptocurrencies, where it's just Anonymous isn't like a group that you can point at and say, oh, let's go arrest Anonymous. You can't, because it's just thousands of people all around the world kind of acting in a decentralized way, almost like a DAO, where it's like they believe in this idea, in this institution, and there's no one leader. It's just a bunch of people working together in separate nodes around the world. So I think it's a great parallel to what we're seeing with DAOs and how cryptocurrency is used.
Yeah, right on. Anything else to cover as it pertains to Russia, or should we move on to credit default swaps?
Yeah, I mean, I think I also have a point on why crypto is we're seeing kind of its another use case of it with Russia. I mean, there's like Bill was saying, you have either cash in a drawer or you have cash under your mattress, but now you also need a ledger hard drive that or hard wallet that acts as your safe haven. And we're going to see that, rather than there being bank runs and people waiting in hours in lines at ATM to get cash out, or whether they're trying to get out rubles, which is down 50% or 45%. You just have Bitcoin or you have Ethereum in your hard wallet, and then that's what you take with you when you escape. I mean, I was seeing people on crypto and NFT Twitter when the war and invasion just was starting, people were saying, I'm trying to flee Ukraine right now, and all I have is like my family, my pet, and my Ledger hard wallet in my pocket. So I mean, it shows that it's a great escape mechanism for people. And as sad as it to say is, if there's an apocalypse or a war or something where people need to get access to it and cash is now essentially worthless, you have crypto.
Yeah, right on. Exactly. I have a Russian friend who's actually traveling. He's out of his country right now, and is probably going to stay.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, stay out for a while. But I saw a social media post from him in which he's cutting up his credit cards because they can't do anything. It's worthless. He just has useless plastic that can't no longer functions the way it does. Yeah, not we talk a lot of words come up when we're talking about crypto topics in general. Anti-censorship, uncensorable fintech. That's a word you don't hear as often as perhaps you should. Uncensorable. Yeah. This idea that nobody gets to take away your transacting power. This is like the stuff of a constitutional amendment right here, right? You have the freedom of press, freedom of religion, and freedom to transact, right?
Yeah, it's like it's a universal or basic human right is the ability to transact and to purchase goods and not be banned because you fall under the guise of some nation state.
Yeah, if certain countries are already recognizing internet access as a basic human right, then the right to transact certainly makes quite a bit of sense. It seems to be under that one in terms of access. Anyway, let's move. We could probably do many podcasts about Russia, but we don't want to harp too deeply on intense negative stuff. Let's move on to credit default swaps, because what a rainbow of sunshine that is.
Yeah, I mean, this also falls under the guise of Russia conflict, but pretty much the Russian government stands on the edge of defaulting on its sovereign debts for the first time since 1998, and so creditors are owed nearly $6 billion of credit derivative contracts if Russia fails to pay what they're owed. And these derivative contracts or credit default swaps are meant to help investors ensure they'll receive full compensation in case one of their underlying bonds defaults. So if they think there's going to be risk, they swap it with someone else and say, hey, you take on my risk and make sure I get my money. So right now there's $4.5 billion of credit default swaps tied specifically to the Russian government. And the cost of buying a 5-year contract for protection against the Russian government default started at around 5% of the total value in February and rose to 46% as of March 4th. And as of right now, there's no credit default swap contracts attached to Russia's local debts, but Russia owes $115 million under dollar-denominated debt to investors due by March 16th. If it doesn't pay it, it has a 30-day grace period before a credit default swap event can be triggered, according to JP Morgan. And I know I said a lot about that, but I want to throw it over to Bill so he can kind of dissect that and explain that to us.
All right. Credit default swaps are like insurance against someone not paying you, right? So, I mean, one of the interesting questions is if Russia is cut out of SWIFT, which is like the dollar payment mechanism, it puzzles me as to how they're going to make their payments in dollars on their debt. It's not just a government either. It's Russian corporate debt. European banks have got huge exposure, right? They've made loans to Russia, right? So if Russia decides as an economic retaliation to withhold payment, or I even heard something over the weekend that Putin is like, oh, we owe you money? Oh, we'll just pay you in rubles, right? will pay you in the currency that's crashing instead of the dollar. So to think that these guys can't push back, Gazprom, the Russian government, I'm sure they've got enough liquidity to hold themselves over. But, when you see credit default swaps start moving in an environment where you have like price shocks in asset classes, like if crude oil and wheat are limit up, it's like dogs in a kennel. One dog starts barking and then all the dogs start barking.
Mm-hmm.
That can be how risk management works. Oh, we have a problem in this area. Oh, we better sell S&P. Now, in this particular case, again, if there are problems in the system with liquidity, right? If there's a problem with payment mechanisms, I don't know. I'm thinking this is favoring crypto in the short term.
Well, at any rate, it's kind of exciting to see these, the characters in the show that is the financial markets. They have names like credit default swaps, and it's kind of exciting to see this character return, because I just immediately think of, this is the thing that made Michael Burry rich in 2008, basically, or was it shortly after 2008? Anyway, guys, let's talk about Tether volatility. We don't mean to stoke any fire about FUD. But Tether is in the news again for unflattering reasons. If you are a stablecoin, volatility is your enemy. Yet here's a write-up from Kaiko Research dated today, March 7th, that explains that Tether's 20-day volatility spiked to yearly highs throughout last week's wild price swings. While fiat-denominated trade volume remains far lower than stablecoin volume, fiat currencies still remain a crucial on-ramp to crypto. The market depth has increased over the past month despite volatile spreads. Basically, the thing that's supposed to be worth $1 is fluctuating up and down as to whether or not it's actually worth $1. And even though it might be a fraction of a penny, these fluctuations, it still matters because large institutions are using Tether to make to open positions in the crypto markets. So it's, I don't know. Bill, talk to us about this. Why is it important? Maybe I haven't made it clear enough. Why is it important that Tether remains pegged at $1, and how much smoke can we see coming from that direction before we all assume there's a fire there?
All right, good question. So this goes back to 2008, right? Tether is backed by a variety of assets, right? It's not just dollars in a bank account. They hold, short-term debt known as commercial paper. They own short-term debt obligations of a wide variety. So per 2008, all it takes is one person to not pay or one person to be insolvent, and someone goes, oh, gee, XYZ entity has got their debt on their balance sheet. And then everyone starts freaking out. The legacy word for it is contagion. Okay? So 2 things about Tether. One, you have to ask yourself, what's your stable coin backed by, right? And are those debt instruments safe? The second thing you have to ask yourself about stable coins in general is, if regulators are coming down on, the use of the dollar payment system, is this an excuse to come down on stablecoin usage? Right? Like, I think Luna's stablecoin is not backed by legacy assets, although I have to check that. That's like the research topic for the week. Uh-huh. Bottom line is, I personally think there's going to come a day this week where people are going to go, oh my God, I have to get out of Tether and I have to get in to a proof of work cryptocurrency, which is either Bitcoin, ETH, or maybe even Dash or Litecoin. Just get me out of dollar-based stablecoins.
Why are
Coinbase may not shut off Russian? I'm sorry, Coinbase may not shut off Russian accounts, but what happens if Coinbase gets told, you got 30 days to wrap up USDC? We're not doing it anymore. We're not going to let people move dollars through stable coins.
Yeah, it's a kind of a crazy, scary thought.
Yeah, I think that's funny because I feel like a lot of people would say, hey, there's a lot of FUD in the market. There's a lot of volatility. What you should do is put your assets in a stable coin. But you're saying the opposite. Maybe not you should do this, but this is what people are probably going to do, is take their money out of stable coins and put it in proof of work, which is kind of like, it seems a little backwards.
Right. Or at least for a short-term trade. Because, like I said, all it takes is, both sides of this conflict, they're using what I call tape bombs, right? Like every 3 days, like we like to make announcements. The West likes to make announcements on weekends, right? I think the Russians like to make announcements when financial markets are open. Okay. So they're trying to maintain this like news flow war, right? That's how these two sides are punching each other. So is there going to be a stable coin punch thrown? And is Russia going to purposely default on debt, hurt European banks, and then see how that ripples through our system? Right. You can't devalue somebody's currency the way the ruble's been devalued and expect no pushback. Right. Like, so no judgment either way, but you can't eat somebody's lunch or take someone's lunch money and expect them not to react.
Guys, are we all mostly seeing the same kind of coverage? Because I'm seeing a lot of news that Ukraine is effectively resisting and kind of even embarrassing invading Russian military forces. Are we all seeing similar coverage? Where's the story that Russia is doing really well in Ukraine? I'm not seeing it yet.
Yeah, I haven't been seeing that. And I'm seeing exactly what you're seeing, but with Russia and just social media and news outlets, I always tend to kind of take a step back because there's a lot of misinformation campaigns, and I don't want to like maybe get my hopes up and be like, wow, Ukraine's doing a good job and Russia's not effectively taking them over. Well, that could just be kind of a guise that Russian bots are putting to trick the Western countries. I don't know. I hope not, but I do tend to want to take a step back and not take everything with a grain of salt.
Sure. I guess I'm asking this question mostly prompted by this little thing that went viral over the weekend. There's a photograph, and let me share this tab actually. So major shout out to Token Metrics Nation, our audio only podcast listeners. But we're going to do a little bit of video stuff. So hello to our YouTube and Token Metrics TV subscribers. Give me a moment to figure out how to share this tab. So Russian soldiers were wanting to go into this Ukrainian building, and by turning off the electricity to the building, they were able to trap a bunch of guys in the elevator. Now, if the electricity's off, I don't know how this camera is taking this picture. But at any rate, I hear you. I'm bringing this up because read you loud and clear on misinformation. Who knows what this actually is? But this is the thing that went viral. This image of Russian soldiers who appear begrudgingly stuck in an elevator. Yeah.
Right. Well, it reminds me of the movie 300, right? When you had a small force against a much larger force, the perceived bad guys in the movie, the first group that they sent in against the Spartans, that was far from their best troops. Right. Uh-huh. So I think, Russia has had some difficulties probably with vehicles either breaking down or running out of fuel. But to think for 1 second that they don't have a backup plan or they can't do an amphibious D-Day style landing, near Crimea and southern Ukraine, all the way out to a river that borders Romania. I don't know. You haven't made your way in this story by underestimating what Putin is willing to do.
Right. Well, This was only supposed to take a few days, right? Once this invasion actually took place, this was theoretically only supposed to take a few days, right? And then now we're beyond a week at this point. So who knows how long this thing will actually take, and what does a resolution even look like, right?
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. I can't even conceive of that right now.
Right. Well, it depends on what you call it, right? If you assume that this is only about, Russia trying to absorb Ukraine, then you approach the story from one angle. If you approach this as Putin is trying to use Ukraine to draw, NATO and the United States into a wider conflict, right? I got a book over the weekend called Putin's Playbook, written by a DIA analyst, and I can't wait to get to it. There's a line from the movie The Hunt for Red October that Russians don't take a dump without a plan. Right. So to assume Putin has no plan or no contingency would be unwise. In other words, you can say a lot of things about, Putin or whoever you like, but in all fighting, in all martial arts, in all war, right? Sun Tzu says all war is about deception, and any karate master will tell you respect your opponent. You don't have to like him, but you should respect your opponent. So, credit default swaps, Russian soldiers in an elevator, just, take credit default swaps real. Russian soldiers trapped in an elevator, if Russian soldiers don't learn how to fight, they're going to learn quickly when the guy next to them gets hurt. Right. So maybe they skipped basic training, or maybe they're doing basic training inside the Ukraine. Again, you don't have to like these guys, but you can't underestimate the will to fight, because nationalities and politics go out the window when bullets start whizzing over your head.
Yeah. Guys, our audience, beloved audience, who we meet 3 times a week in this fashion. If you've watched this far, if you've listened this far, you might as well subscribe and tell somebody about this wonderful content that we're putting out 3 times a week for you. Not to mention the many other videos that are available on the Token Metrics YouTube channel. Bill, of course, goes live 5 days a week. I don't know how he does it. Mad credit to Bill. But the big picture here, guys, is that we are here to help you make money in crypto. This podcast is one of the ways that we do that, whether we're rehashing the news or interviewing a guest. We've got a guest this coming Wednesday, by the way, guys. Adam Hollander will be joining us. Adam is the former head of gamification for Microsoft. He's now a crypto guy. We're going to probably have quite the crypto gaming conversation, so we'll see what that's all about. But just by way of teasing what's coming up. And Jacob, Bill, anything to say before we hang this thing up?
Stay safe, everyone.
Yeah. Weird times out there for sure, but hang in there. At any rate, we'll see you next time from the Edge Podcast.